you like to open it up?
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome. This is our first meeting of the Executive Director Hiring Committee for the Universal Health Plan Governance Board. Katie, I'll turn it over to you for a roll call.
Thank you very much. Helen Belanca,
Here.
Bruce Goldberg,
Here.
Judy Richardson,
Here.
Jenny Donovan.
Here.
Okay, we are good to go.
Okay, well, I think this is a pretty straightforward meeting. We're just going to go over the job announcement and a recruitment plan. And most of the meeting is just this committee getting information from our DCBS partners at partner Courtney Domine. So Courtney, I'll turn it over to you at this point. Oh, I should say, sorry, there is a time here for public comment. I don't believe we have any public comment. Is that right, Katie?
That is right.
Okay, so we'll move on and I'll hand it over to you, Courtney.
Great, thank you. So the first part to this meeting is reviewing the job announcement that we will be posting. Katie, I believe you will pull up the announcement that we will walk through together. What I'll do is I'll go through each section, describe what it is in detail, and then go over any questions if that sounds good to all of you. Okay, so the first is obviously the job title. We also do post the classification title with every working title. This is so candidates can look at the Department of Administrative Services website and even see what types of skills and qualifications would be needed in that position. They also can view the salary range for those classifications. We also include the location, in this case, Salem, Oregon. And then we dive into the Department of Consumer and Business Services of the mission and then who DCBS is. Right after, we go into the what's in it for you. This is where we highlight the environment that they're going to be working in, our benefits package, the holidays, work-life balance, how we want to grow career with the state. And then we identify the position and its remote status. There are essentially 3 remote statuses that a hiring manager can pick. That is fully remote, which is 100%, hybrid, which means both teleworking and non-teleworking, and then a fully, I said 100% remote, and then fully in the office. And so we have identified this position as a hybrid position. Any questions so far?
Courtney, I just had a question about the salary range. I've had a couple of inquiries about that. Is it listed on this site, or do we send people to you for that, or can you just tell us what it is?
Great question. So it will be listed on the job announcement in the Workday system, which is where we would post this job announcement. It automatically populates into that announcement. I can take a look here. We do post the position as a non-PERS salary classification range until the employee qualifies for PERS, and then their salary will adjust. So in this case, because this is a compliance, can you scroll up for me, Katie, really quick? It's the Compliance and Regulatory Manager 2 position. This salary information would post at a starting range of $7,355 monthly to $11,373. So it would be within that range. We would do pay equity to determine what step the employee would be coming in at.
Courtney, it says in the statute that the board sets the compensation.
It does. Yes, under ORS 240, so it does, the position still must be put through the pay equity process that is under ORS 240.
Thanks.
Any other questions that I can answer?
No.
Okay, So the next part is the summary of the position. So what the executive director responsibilities are, who the executive director reports to. We pulled this from the position description that was approved in the board meeting last Thursday. So again, this is just pulled from that, and then the complete listing or the complete job duties from that position description is attached in a hyperlink in Workday, so the candidate can pull up the full position description to review the roles and responsibilities related to the job.
Would it be possible to have something a little bit more dynamic and welcoming and inspiring as the first sentence? I mean, to say that what you're going to do is basically carry out statutorily mandated duties doesn't really capture my sense of public service. The fact that this is about a position that will help put together a plan to get every person in the state health care, something that's a little bit inspiring as opposed to bureaucratic would be wonderful.
Yes, so something that is very popular for hiring managers is actually to include 3 lead-in questions at the very beginning of the job announcement. So it would highlight the overall like mission of the board and the executive director role. And so we actually could look at 3 kind of enticing, marketable questions to include right at the beginning. And so that could lead into generating a little bit more interest into the role. We do have some flexibility within Workday to use like italics and bold. And so I would recommend with those 3 leading questions to have them italicized. And that's usually what we recommend for the hiring managers. We don't want to well, I should say we don't recommend using a lot of color in a job announcement only because if somebody is colorblind, we want to make sure that they're able to read all the text. And so that's why we would recommend just keeping it into the black and white text with the hyperlinks in the blue, but we can definitely add in those 3 lead-in questions if that would suffice as to that marketable position.
Three questions, something that's just a little bit inspiring, even a
Yes.
sentence or 2 would be really helpful.
Could be like, do you want to change healthcare as we know it, or something like that, right?
I absolutely love that. And we can actually keep that at the beginning there. Do you want to and I'll just put your exact wording, do you want to change healthcare as we know it? Would be kind of that lead-in question. Is there any other recommendations on language for those lead-in questions?
I'm sure somebody can come up with something better than me, but it would be something like that, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly right.
You want to assure that everyone in Oregon gets the health care they need?
Yeah. And then I'd like something in there about um, um, something about the innovation, like something that's innovative, like do can you don't quote this, but like something about like, can you come up with some innovative solutions to complex problems or something like that? We need somebody who's thinking kind of creatively, and we're trying to create something new that hasn't been done before. And so something that alludes to sort of an innovative spirit or, with complex problems. Are you, are you, can you think creatively and address complex problems in innovative ways?
Yeah, I captured so the do you want to provide innovative solutions to complex problems? And I do like that second question that you kind of phrased as well with the creative problem solving in there. So um I like that opening question of the, do you want to ensure that everyone in Oregon gets the health care we need? I think that's a really strong opening question. And then, do you want to provide innovative solutions to complex problems? Do you want to adjust that one?
How about work with a team? Do you want to work with a team to create innovative solutions? Because they won't, yeah, it'll be with the board, of course.
Yes, to provide innovative. So, do you want to work with a team to provide innovative solutions to complex problems? And then I also think something potentially about the like impact or mission driven behind the position could be a really valuable lead-in question. So do you want to affect change, something along those lines?
You want to be on the leading edge of healthcare reform? Do you want to, yeah, I don't know, Judy, what do you think? Bruce?
I like cutting edge of healthcare reform.
Okay.
So I have, do you want to be on the cutting edge of healthcare reform? Okay.
That'll get
So
people's attention.
I think it will. Yes. Yes. So, do you want to ensure that everyone in Oregon gets the health care we need? Do you want to work on a team to provide the innovative solutions to complex problems? Do you want to be on the cutting edge of healthcare reform? And then I like to end it with an actionable, the call to action, right? So apply today is what I would include after that. If that, okay, great. I'm seeing some nods and thumbs up. So apply today with an exclamation point. Okay, great. So I've added that language to the top of the job announcement. So then when it does lead into the here's what you will do, it will be more of that language in alignment with that position description, but we have captured their attention right at the beginning of the job announcement. Any other questions or anything else to address on the here's what you will do? Okay.
Uh,
Well, oh,
I was just gonna say that, so it says in there about working with the staff, working with OHA, it doesn't say anything about consultants. Oh, managed contractors as needed. Yeah, I guess, okay, yeah, managed contractors, yeah, okay, that's fine.
all right. So then the next part, here's what you need to qualify. The minimum qualifications cannot be changed. Those are set by the Department of Administrative Services. So because this is a compliance and regulatory manager 2 position, it must have this minimum qualifications, but you can adjust the requested skills of the position. And this is also what we had discussed in the Thursday meeting in the regards to the state experience is desired but not required, or preferred but not required in this position. So I would recommend that that is under the bulleted points of the requested skills. And I don't even recommend, I wouldn't recommend that it would be even a bullet point, but it would actually be an italicized sentence under those bullet points. Again, just to reiterate that it is not a specific skill that is requested, it is just preferred in this in this job announcement. So I will put at the after those bulleted points, state experience. Now I do want to ask state of Oregon experience or just state government experience?
Do we need that at all? I mean, I'm just thinking we want to cast a wide net. And we might want people that have, you know, management experience and leading a team, et cetera. I just pose that to the group. I'm just concerned we may push some people away.
I think there may be some value, and it doesn't necessarily have to be state, but like a public board experience. I mean, if someone had no experience with public boards, there's going to be a steep learning curve with public meetings law and how they interact with interested groups and parties and individuals, public comment.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I don't want to weed anybody out, but Morgan has consistently said that that is one of the most challenging parts of the job for her. And it's a part that has really slowed us down and held us up, is that knowledge of how to work for a government agency. So I like the way Courtney has been talking about it. It's not a required skill, but it's just sort of, if you have that, we would look pretty favorably on that. It's really impacted our work to date.
So the difference between minimum qualifications and requested skills, right, is that the minimum qualifications, every candidate that applies must meet that minimum qualification in order to move to the requested skills screening. So with the requested skills, you do have the flexibility to look at each candidate and say they may have 3 out of the 4 requested skills that we've identified in the job announcement, but we would still like to move this candidate forward. So they don't have to have all requested skills, but they do have to identify at least some, right, in order to move forward. So in that case, would you want experience with a public board to be in a essentially a requested skill?
I think that's preferred, but Helen and Bruce, what do you?
Well, we talked about this at the board meeting, and we wanted it listed as sort of preferred but not required.
Okay.
So experience with and would we use public board
Sure.
is preferred, but not required.
And then there was a second one about health policy experience from our discussion.
Yes. Right. Experience with public policy. I'm wondering if that is covered in the second bullet point, but maybe it's not the correct language or what you're seeking out from this job announcement.
Well, I would say healthcare policy. So that's kind of just broad, like, any policy that's, from the legislature. But I would say, experience working with health policy. I can't remember the exact wording we came up with at the board meeting, but it was something along the lines of, relevant health policy experience preferred but not required.
Okay, I like that. Relevant
Healthcare.
health.
I would say healthcare policy.
Okay.
Preferred but not required. Yeah.
Great. I added those 2 bullet points at the end of those requested skills. Is there any other additional changes you want to make to the requested skills?
I think we can move on.
Okay. Great. So next is the application information. This is where you need to determine if you want to make a cover letter required for the job posting. Other than that, everything else is pretty standard language that we use in our job announcement, but hiring managers sometimes like to say a cover letter is not required or is optional. It is up to you as the hiring committee, knowing that if they don't, this could potentially disqualify them from the recruitment.
If they don't provide a cover letter?
Correct. Now, I'll explain this. If there is a candidate that you would like to bring forward that did not attach a cover letter, you then need to extend that same screening process to all candidates that have applied to the recruitment. So you can't choose one candidate who didn't choose or didn't
Mhm.
attach a cover letter and then not apply that same rule to another candidate who did the same.
I really like a cover letter, but I think in that regard, it probably should be optional, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like requiring it for three reasons. One, we want somebody who reads and has attention to detail following instructions. The second one, we want to see how they articulate their intentions in a cover letter. I was reading that like preferred effective verbal and written communication skills. Like in my mind, that's required. You have to have effective verbal and written communication skills, but you get to that if you ask someone to write a cover letter. And then the third thing, it just gives us a nice introduction to a CV or a resume, which can be really huge. It's like, what's your interest in this
Yeah,
position? It gives them really a good opportunity. I think, I think we should require it.
The other option that I want to give to all of you to decide on is there is a supplemental question, and we'll cover that part in this job announcement, but essentially a candidate will go through the application process and then they'll have to answer a series of questions. Some are required by our agency, some you can make optional. One of the ones that is optional is asking the candidate, did you attach a cover letter to your application? And they will say yes or no. You can, if they say no, you can add in the option for them to attach their cover letter right then, or just say yes or no, and then if they say no, they would have to go back and attach the cover letter to their application. I will say we have had candidates say, yes, I've attached a cover letter, when in fact they haven't. So it again is that attention to detail if that's what you're looking for.
yeah, I'm okay either way. I like Judy's reasoning for why it should be required. I really like
All
cover
right.
letters. I think they help a lot.
Yeah.
I'm okay with them attaching it there. You know, if you say no, then give them an option to attach it there. Um,
Perfect. Okay, well, we will leave that language there. The last part is our additional information. This talks about our pay equity law. It talks about that they'll be subject to a background check upon employment. It also addresses veterans' preference points and the resources for veterans, and then our preferred worker program, as well as the I-9 form that we will need upon employment, and then helpful links that we like to provide our candidates, more about learning about the agency. We do offer as well online how to apply and how to really stand out during that application process. And then if they have any questions that they can reach out to our recruitment team and we'd be more than happy to assist. We also include our DEI language that has been vetted by our Office of Equity and the Department of Justice. And this is included in all of our job announcements. Any questions regarding that information? Nope. Okay. So then our supplemental questions, these are the ones that we include on all of our job announcements. So after they've applied, they would then move to the questionnaire portion in Workday. The first one is transcripts. If they're using a transcript or really their education in order to meet the minimum qualification, they have the option to attach their transcript right at the application process, or they can say they're using experience to meet the minimum qualification, or that they can provide their transcripts at a later date. This is just for our minimum qualification screening, and we include this on all of our job announcements. And then we are now to the DCBS cover letter resume required. So this is where I ask, do you want that additional question that if they click no, they have not attached a resume or cover letter, it will drop down and it would allow them to attach it in the questionnaire. And then the last is the legal to work in the United States. DCBS does not offer visa sponsorships. And so we ask the question, can you after employment submit proof of your legal right to work in the United States? And these are our standard supplemental questions. Any edits, any questions that I can answer? All right. So then now I would just say, do you is there anything else on the job announcement that I can answer for you or add in addition? Otherwise, this would be the job announcement that we would post. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and move then to the recruitment sourcing plan. So I've put together a typical sourcing plan for our positions here that we do for the Department of Consumer and Business Services, and then took a look at all of our resources and really highlighted the ones that I think would be appropriate for this position. So I'll go forward first with explaining each again of the sections here. So associations and community partners. I want to state here that these are email addresses that we have on file and have made connections with. That's why there is no cost associated with these. This is not a job board. There is not a posting here. This is a simple write-up that I would use from the job announcement with those lead-in questions and attaching that position description and encouraging them to share with their network. So this is an email list that I have generated here, and there is no cost. I would like to say that there is the Oregon Public Health Association that does have a job board, and it is $50 for a job posting, and it says that it would post for 30 days. So that would also be an option that I think does have the potential to really align with this job announcement. So that's the first section. As you can see, there are quite a few email addresses that we have on file to share with to share this job announcement. Next, in the additional websites, this is typically where you see the biggest budget come out of. And so we have things like Career Builder, Diversity Job Board, Urban League of Portland, the Lund Report. These all highlight the length of the job posting, and most of these most of these websites are on a national level. Some of them, like Urban League of Portland, is obviously pertaining more towards the Pacific Northwest area, but these would have a wide reach for the job announcement if that's what you would like to do. I also did look into Max List, which is not on this sourcing plan. That is posted for 30 days and is a cost of $163. And I will say too, I like to highlight that Indeed.com is zero because it already pulls from our Workday website. And so it automatically posts to Indeed. Yes, Judy.
Thanks, Courtney. Oh,
Yes.
so once in a while I'll see things posted through the state on LinkedIn. Do we just have a LinkedIn site and does it automatically come from Workday? Okay.
Yes, so LinkedIn, we do have our communications team who runs the DCBS LinkedIn page. And we do have the availability to add in a cost there if you would like to push it out more. You can do a free job posting with DCBS, and that will reach everybody that follows that page. And then I like to also pull it from my account and push it out to also my networks. But you can do a job posting in LinkedIn. It is pay per click. They do go pretty quickly. So I do recommend a higher budget. In this plan, I did put the budget at $1,000. You can put it to any amount that you would like, just knowing that the less amount that you do, the less clicks you get. And I would say on average, if I did a $500 posting, I would probably at most get it up for maybe 4 or 5 days, just depending again on how many clicks there are within LinkedIn. So we will automatically do a free posting. It's whether or not you want to pursue the paid advertising in LinkedIn. We also have partnerships, or we have an account with Handshake. Handshake is what our colleges and universities use. So in this case, we could post to all of them, and then um, that's free to you, and that is a great resource to use. We also have a membership with Partners in Diversity Board. This is a free advertising for the position because the agency has a membership. And that is a great resource as well to use. So any questions, recommendations that you would like to add or even remove from the plan right now with the Oregon Public Health Association and Max List, that actually adds on to the cost, and that's a $2,741 recruitment advertising budget. Oh, I think you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry, because of my
There we go.
dog.
Yeah.
I don't have any experience like knowing the context of that. Is that a pretty broad posting? Is that really good? Is that pretty limited? Are we somewhere in between? Like, give us some context for is how broad that is.
It's a pretty broad posting. I would say typically hiring managers are anywhere between the 1,000 to 2,000 mark. This is a little over that. And so if you want to look at the additional websites section, I can walk you through some of the more popular ones. So with Career Builder, that's a really popular source and reaches nationally. And so I would, if you're going to go with one of the more national job postings, that would be the one that I would recommend. Because the diversity job board is a 60 days, and I don't know if your posting's going to be that long, I might not recommend that one. We also have the Partners in Diversity job board. So that might be one that you could say you would take off the list. The Lund report, I wouldn't remove. That's a really
Mhm.
specific website that I think aligns again really well with this position. And then the post jobs now, I haven't seen from like any of the recruitments that we've done that we've gotten any candidates from them. Now, I will say a little caveat there is candidates have to tell us where they saw their job, and sometimes they don't put in that information. So we just don't know. The data isn't very clear that yet in Workday. So post jobs now would be another one that I would maybe consider removing. But for the most part, some of those are really helpful. Careers in government is very, very broad as well. So yeah, that's kind of the insight I can give you. Judy, yeah.
Hey, Courtney, have you ever had experience working across agencies? So, if the OHA has a LinkedIn page or something, I'm just thinking somebody who has health policy experience may not necessarily be following the DCBS board or be able to
Yes.
see that, but they certainly will be following like state health policy gigs that come up on their feed. Is there any like sharing?
That's a great question. And at this point, I can say I'm not sure because I've never had anyone ask me that question, but I definitely could reach out um, to OHA and see if they would be willing to post this job and say, hey, here's what we did on our DCBS LinkedIn. Would you
Oh,
be
yeah.
willing to reshare this? Because that typically is pretty easy to do. So I can definitely add that to the sourcing plan. The other part that we can do is we can send the job announcement out to current state employees as well. And what I would do is I would take a look at the classifications that would qualify for a role in related to the executive director and say, hey, there's a new job posting. Please take a look at this. And if you have any questions about applying, please let me know. So we can send that out for state employees as well. So that way OHA is getting the advertisement that way. So I can add both of those things onto the sourcing plan.
Well, what does anyone have any thoughts on removing some of those additional websites, or should we just leave it as broad as possible and spend the money?
It seems strategically wise to just spend the money and really try to get as many potential candidates as possible who qualify this first go round, because if we don't get enough, then we're going to drag out and our work is going to be delayed. So it seems like a good investment, even though, I always cringe a little bit spending any money, but it feels like in this case, if it can widen the net and get a great candidate, then we're off to the races.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with that.
So I have a total of, it's not matching the one on the screen because I have the additional, it's the 2,741 as that payment. And if you want to adjust at all, we can adjust the LinkedIn one because that one's actually a price that we can essentially adjust if we need to. But if you're good with the $2,741, then we'll move forward with that plan.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and pull up our last agenda item, which is the recruitment timeline. So I have built out two timelines for you. One is a little bit more I guess I would say a little bit more aggressive with the timeline and moving very quickly. One does have a little bit more flexibility built in there so that if you need to extend the job posting and or need to conduct more interviews than you originally anticipated, you can do that. So let's go over option one. That would be me posting the job immediately today with it closing February 9th. Which is a Sunday, February 10th, I would do minimum qualification screening, and then we would have a subcommittee meeting on that day in the afternoon for you then to review the applicants and then develop interview questions. And then we would hold the first round of interviews on February 18th. You would identify the 1 to 2 candidates that you'd like to move forward with reference checks done on both candidates. And then February 20th is your governance board meeting, and you would identify your final candidate. So that one, again, is the one where you would really be moving very quickly. If you had to adjust, there wouldn't be a lot of opportunity to adjust with that timeline. Let's go ahead and look at option two. which you have to scroll through a bit. There we go. So option 2 is actually me posting on the 22nd, or yes, I think the 22nd, although I might have identified the 29th as a 20-day job posting, but January 22nd, posting the job. It closes February 18th. We would do minimum qualifications on the 19th. On February 20th, because you have your board meeting, we could give an update to the board and then review applicants and develop interview questions later in the day with the subcommittee. Hold round 1 interviews on February 24th. And then hold round 4, or sorry, March 4th, hold round 2 interviews and identify the final candidates, complete a reference checks, and then on your March 20th governance board meeting, identify the top candidate and maybe even do an official offer on that day. So those are the 2 options that I built out.
Why did you build 2? Like, what's the thinking between one versus the other?
It only depends on how you want to essentially bring in the final candidate. So with the second option, it allows you to kind of make that official announcement on March 20th, and also allows you to have really two interviews happen for the candidate and give an update to the board on February 20th. The first one is just hitting the go button essentially and trying to get someone in place by your next board meeting. It wouldn't really allow for a round 2 interview. I know it says second round interviews identify final candidate, but you would really want that final candidate decided on February 18th. And then have that reference check happen for the 1 to 2 candidates. Yes, Morgan?
Well, just to add to everything that Courtney was saying, option 2 also gives you the flexibility of being able to adjust if you don't get enough quality candidates by the deadline. You would have the opportunity to extend the recruitment for another amount of time. If you wanted to build in an extra, interview more potential candidates at the beginning in the first round and have an extra round of interviews to whittle it down. So the second one gives you the more flexibility for an additional round of interview. And if you don't get the quality candidates you're searching for in the first 20 days, it allows you some flexibility to extend it.
I'm leaning toward the second one, but what do you guys think?
I'm also thinking about our candidates too. It may give them a little more flexibility depending on their availability to interview. If we went with the first one, that's very, very narrow window to go from announcement to interview.
I'm assuming if we go with the option 2, and depending on how the interviews and candidates are, we don't have to do the second round, and we could actually make that shorter. Is that correct, Courtney?
Yeah, if you identify a candidate earlier and you say this is who we want to hire, you wouldn't have to do the second round interviews. You could say this is who we want to move forward with, and go ahead and move to the reference check and offer stage. There's flexibility in option 2, whereas option 1 is very we would really want to make sure that those timelines and those dates really work for everybody.
So the board wanted to meet the final candidate or candidates in person before we made a final decision. So if we went with option 2, probably would have to have a special meeting of the board to allow for that. Or we could have that happen at the 20th, but you were saying we would announce on the 20th who we picked, but we would want to, I guess we would have, you know, have, if there were like two final candidates, they would come on the 20th, March 20th and interview with the full board. And then we could go into executive session and have a discussion if we needed to, and then go back to the public meeting and take a vote on who we would hire. Is that the idea?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We can always have a special meeting of the board.
Yeah, or we could do yeah, so if we decide we don't need the second round interviews, we could do a special meeting of the board earlier and yeah. Sorry, my dog. I'm gonna go on mute again.
So, and then I will say too, with option 2, that posting, because the governor expectation is to complete a recruitment within the 50-day timeline. If you have March 20th as day 50, the job posting would go up January 29th. And it would run from the 29th to February 18th. Bruce, I believe you're on.
Why wouldn't we post the job tomorrow?
You could, it just makes the clock move up because the clock starts once we post the job, and it's when there's an accepted offer and work day. And so we would aim for the recruitment to be completed from posting to offer within 50 day. This has that outlined from the 50-day mark is January 29th to March 20th. That's an exact 50-day.
So couldn't we, wait, first of all, does the 50 days include weekends or is it 50?
It does include weekends,
Okay,
yes.
so could we post it tomorrow and then do 50 days out from that, whatever that ends up being, like March 11th or whatever that ends up being?
Yes.
And then we would plan for that as like a special meeting of the board as opposed to waiting till the 20th, our board meeting, because I agree, I think posting it tomorrow is a big priority.
Okay.
And then go 50 days from tomorrow, and we would sometime before that 50-day deadline is when we would do a special meeting of the
Special
board.
meeting. Yeah. Katie, can you go ahead and scroll to the top for me? So if we post tomorrow, that gives us until March 12th to hit that 50-day recruitment timeline. So we absolutely could. And then what I would do is I would add on potential of a special meeting to happen within that. So we'd post, are you still wanting to have the job announcement open for 20 days? Or do you want to go 30?
I don't know why the job announcement is different than the recruitment 50 days. Like what does that mean?
So sorry, the job announcement from open to close is you advertise for 20 days or 30 days, however long you want to advertise for, but then you have 50 days total to get that offer. So the job announcement is included within that 50 days. The advertising is included within that 50 days.
And she can't start screening, correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, but you said that she can't start screening until the job, yeah,
Closes.
until she closes. I think that 20 days is reasonable, and I like the idea of a special meeting because we have so much other work we have to do at our regular board meetings. This gives us some time to just focus on this.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we'll stick with 20 days.
20 days for the advertisement, yes.
Do this screening and then plan for a special meeting within the 50-day window. So sometime before the 12th.
And I think it helps us to figure out when that day is so it can be noticed appropriately and all of that stuff, right? We can make travel plans, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So then what I will do is I will take essentially we'll start the clock tomorrow. We'll get the job up and I will work on posting and making sure we advertise that position. And then finalize the recruitment outline with the timeline. And then at our next subcommittee meeting, um, I'll I'll give essentially an update to what has essentially happened, how many candidates you have, here's the ones that have qualified and all that, but then also give an update on the timeline of here's kind of the next steps of what we will do.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, Judy, I think you're on mute. There we go.
Just thinking ahead to interview questions, is it true, in my experience in the past, is we have to ask the same questions of each candidate equally? And so it might be a good idea now for the three of us to even, for our own thinking, start brainstorming a set of questions so then we can agree on, okay, it's going to be these 8 or this 10, and then we can develop a rubric so we can score based on responses. Does that sound right? Okay.
And then what I can do as well is, because I know we have, sorry, 7 minutes left of today's meeting. What I can do is I can include the interview questions that we've actually asked in the previous recruitment. And so you're not just working from nothing. You have a pretty strong foundation and you can adjust as needed. From that, would you like me to pull that up now, or is that something you would like to discuss at our next subcommittee meeting?
Maybe just send it to us and we can review it independently and make edits to it maybe, and then bring it back to the next meeting.
Yes, I absolutely can. I will send that over to Katie.
Mhm.
And Katie, if you can send that out, that would be helpful. All right. I'm going to make a note here, send interview questions, and then I will get the job posted. I will also make sure to send you the links and everything to that job posting, because hopefully you can also help me in the advertising for this position and send it out to your networks and contacts and encourage anyone who's interested to apply. And I believe that was all that I had on the agenda. So.
And just one more question, Courtney. I think you mentioned earlier, like if people are interested, you'll include your contact information on that email, and we can say they can reach out to you if they have questions about any of it. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyone else have other questions, comments before?
When
I
does the subcommittee meet again, this group?
think the 10th. Is that right? Or is it different on the second one? If we look at the agenda for, I mean, the timeline for the second.
Yeah, I would have February 10th. That would be so sorry, that is option. So that's with a job posting later. So we would actually do our subcommittee meeting would be on the 10th of February. And then uh I would recommend to have that in the afternoon. So that way that gives me time to screen the applicants in the morning. And that way, here's the candidates that qualify for the position. So what would happen is the job announcement would close February 9th at midnight. So the candidates would have up until that time, and then right when the calendar changes to February 10th, that's when the job is taken off of the websites.
That's going to be a Monday afternoon. Will that work for both of you?
Yeah. Bruce, does that work for you?
10th, we're talking?
Yeah, the 10th.
At what time?
Well, sometime in the afternoon. We don't have a time, I think.
That would work.
Okay. I'll put a hold on my calendar, yeah.
Could we set a time right now? That would be helpful.
Yes. The earliest I could do is 1:30. You want to say 1:30? Judy, do you have a preference?
I'm open.
Okay. Say 1:30?
Works for me.
Okay, 1:30 on the 10th. Is that okay, Courtney? Is
Yep,
that late enough in the afternoon, or do you
no,
want us to
that's
go? Do you want us
no,
to go
no,
a
no,
little?
no, that's great. That's wonderful because yep, I have that on my calendar as well. Um, I I was just kind of thinking about timing, if it's going to be 1 hour or anticipated to be a little bit longer because there will be a screening part to that committee meeting. So we can kind of, I don't know if you have how much your availability is on that day. If you anticipate it being longer than 1 hour.
Like an hour and a half, you think?
Yeah, I would aim for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, 1:30 to 3. Okay.
Mhm.
So Courtney, the screening part, is that talking about actual candidates?
Mhm.
So that'll be an executive session piece of the public meeting. Cool.
Yeah, we'll do so we will do like an update of all how many candidates. I'll provide you any data. Here's the ones that meet minimum qualifications, and then you would go into executive session to review each of the candidates.
Are we finalizing the questions that day too?
Yes, but I'll provide you questions, or sorry, Katie will be sending you at least what we've used in the past recruitment, and then you can identify which ones you want to move forward with.
So we decide that first, and then we go into executive session and talk to the candidates.
I don't think we're
We're not
talking
talking to the
to
candidates.
them.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sorry. I mean, not, I didn't mean that. I meant, I'm talking about the candidates, yeah. But we're gonna finalize our questions at the same meeting that we screen the candidates.
I believe, yes, I do know that interview questions will be finalized during that time. Morgan, do you know, should the interview questions be finalized in executive session so that essentially candidates aren't aware of the questions in advance to their interview? That's the only part that I was wondering about.
Yes, I believe so. You'll start the meeting in public, and then you'll, as Helen has done before for when the governance board goes into executive session, cite the rationale for executive session, and then go into executive session for the screening and discussion of interview questions.
Perfect, thank you.
Looks great. Anything else we need to cover?
Not on my end. I know what I'm going to do.
Anyone else have questions, thoughts, comments? No? Okay, great. Thank you again so much, Courtney. Really appreciate your time and your work on this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye, everyone.